Hello everyone, my name is Catelynn Henion. Today I will be sharing with you my project, The Confederated Tribes of Grand Ronde's Relationship with and Reclamation of Tumwata, Willamette Falls. I just want to say thank you to everyone who's taking the time to engage with my project, and thank you to the Undergraduate Research Symposium for creating a space to share this project. I just want to start with a positionality statement. I'd like to address that I am a white settler raised in what is now known today as Big Fork, Montana, today on the unceded traditional homelands of the Ktunaxa, otherwise known as the settler name Kootenai and Salish peoples. I'm currently studying elementary education at the University of Oregon on Kalapuya land. My positionality as a white settler and cisgendered woman profoundly shapes my worldview and the way that I approach my work as an educator, how I engage in critical discourses about institutions that have shaped what we now call the United States. These institutions include, but are not limited to, settler colonialism, chattel slavery, and white supremacy. I would like to take a second to thank my colleague, Rachel Cushman, for introducing me to positionality and for emphasizing the importance of this concept in our work. I'm going to share a little bit about my project before I do kind of an overview of the website. This website started as a final project for the class that I took in this past winter term, 2022, EDST 456, Decolonization Education with Dr. Leilani Subzalian. So since I turned in that final project for that class, it has grown and it is in no way completed. Just like all learning, it is a work in progress. This website is intended to be a representation of what I've learned about the Confederated Tribes of Grand Ronde and their reclamation of the Tumwata land. Furthermore, this project is how I've come to understand what I would need to know in order to teach about the reclamation respectfully and responsibly in my future classroom. This project has inspired me to question what foundational knowledge is necessary for students to contextualize this reclamation within a larger scope of settler colonial society. And none of my listed information or resources are intended to be exhaustive. There are so many beautiful resources created by members of the Confederated Tribes of Grand Ronde that I really encourage you to seek out. I will be including some of them, but I always encourage you to look further and seek some more resources there. And I would like to clarify that I did not work with anyone from the Confederated Tribes of Grand Ronde to make this website. And I would like to give a big thank you to Dr. Leilani Subzalian. Thank you so much for helping me to continue this work on my project and encouraging me to apply to the Undergraduate Research Symposium. I would also like to thank my colleagues from my class and RG Helen Muniz, as well as Dr. Jennifer O'Neill. Thank you so much for taking time to help me expand my scope on this project. So first, I just want to share the purpose of the key terms aspect on my website. The following key terms are important reminders of the foundational knowledge students might need to know to meaningfully engage with the unit that I would potentially teach about the reclamation relationship of the Confederated Tribes of Grand Ronde with Tumwata. And just the foundational knowledge I would need to know to meaningfully facilitate a lesson. Unfortunately, I don't have time to look through all of these terms, but under each one, there are resources and quotes from resources that were helpful, at least to me, to expand my understanding of the terms. So yeah, if you would like to check that out further, please do visit the website. And also there are lots of other beautiful resources created by Indigenous scholars that give us more insight into these key terms. I also included some other resources that were shared both in my class and some that I found outside of class as well. These are just some other resources that I thought were important to potentially building an understanding for this unit. And I would like to thank you to give thanks to my colleagues and Dr. Subsalian. A lot of these resources came from shared documents or just something that was shared in our opening and closing classes. So I sincerely appreciate that. And under Willamette River, so one section of this page in my website is the connection of the Confederated tribes of Grand Ronde to Tumwata since time immemorial. That is a key term also defined by resources in my key terms, and that will also be linked in here if you are interested in visiting that later. These are just websites that include highlights, which are just quotes from the resource. And I include some themes that I was seeing and connecting to as I read the article or engaged with the resource. I also include a summary of, or just like some bullet points of the source significance to my overall understanding. And if you're interested, please do visit that later as well. And this is specific resources that discuss the Confederated tribes of Grand Ronde reclaiming their ancestral homelands, and specifically the purchase of a 23-acre property of Willamette Falls that was formerly home to a Blue Heron Paper Company mill. And this quote is from the Confederated Tribes of Grand Ronde website, just about their project. Each of these underlined blue titles, if I click on them, they will bring me to that source. And if you want to visit those, you can visit this website directly or just visit the Confederated Tribes of Grand Ronde website specifically for this source. And similar to the past section, I included highlights such as quotes, themes that I was seeing, and these highlights are also links to the key terms. If there's any key terms, again, that you would be unfamiliar with, you could click on those, and those would bring you back to those sources that deal directly with defining and establishing different meanings. And again, here is that source significance to my overall understanding. This is a video from the Confederated Tribes of Grand Ronde, just talking about their connection to the falls and just about the purchase directly. And it's a beautiful video. I would encourage everyone to go check that out. And I also include this in the other resources, but there is a beautiful gift that the Confederated Tribes of Grand Ronde gifted to K-12 educators. And this is a tribal history curriculum. And I went through some of this curriculum and just found a lot of beautiful ways that I could bring this curriculum in my classroom to bring the connection of the tribes with Tumwata and their lifeways in relationship to Tumwata. And again, would really encourage anyone, really, especially educators, to visit their website to see some of that tribal history curriculum. I also thought that it was important, even though I'm not currently in a classroom, I thought it was important to visualize how I would engage students directly with this work. How could I start these conversations that would prepare students to understand that what this purchase of Tumwata is a reclamation of tribal sovereignty, and that this land is being ceded to a different nation. And I thought that one question that would be important for students to understand is how we are implicated in the systems of settler colonialism. And none of the resources or lessons in this are ones that I came up with. They are all quotes and ideas from other educators. Again, if you are interested in seeing more about these resources, please do click on the link, which is these underlined titles. I also discuss about addressing our own positionality and ancestry. And there's another really important resource in this other resources to talk about how we can do that in a trauma-informed way. And another important aspect of this page is talking about how the Confederated tribes of Grand Ronde are engaging in cultural revitalization and restoring tribal sovereignty. There are so many tribal members and organizations that the tribe is involved in to engage in cultural revitalization. And this project of the restoration and reclamation of Tumwata is just one of many. And I included some of these resources. And again, these are not exhaustive, but here are just some of those projects that are taking place. And as a part of this project, I also engaged in a small step towards action. I think that getting students in a way to engage with their community is really important. For me, I went to Alton Baker Park, which is the portion of the Willamette that I'm close to in Eugene, or what we now call Eugene. I think that really establishing for students how sacred this land is and how settlers contribute to the degradation of the sacred land, and how we can clean up and take care of that land to pay respect to the indigenous peoples who have been on this land since time immemorial. And I emphasize that this is just a small step that I thought of for this project, but there are so many ways in which students can engage meaningfully. I also wanted to include that Dr. David Lewis's website, Quartux, Journal of Critical Indigenous Anthropology, has a very in-depth information on Calpullian history, lifeways. So I would strongly encourage anyone to visit that website. And again, there are lots of different websites and articles in here about other members of the Confederated tribes of Grand Ronde that are doing amazing work. So that is all the time that I believe we have for today. Thank you so much for taking time to engage with my project and go through an overview of my website. Again, it is a work in progress, but I think that bringing this project into the classroom and bringing this knowledge into the classroom as a way to engage students in understanding current events such as the Confederated Tribes of Grand Ronde's reclamation and relationship with Tumwata, because too often we talk about tribal nations in the past tense, and we need to see the ways in which these tribes are engaging in cultural revitalization and restoring tribal sovereignty today. Thank you so much.